Welcome to Ultimate Revenge Tales. Tonight you'll hear a story that will crawl under your skin. A story so brutally real, you might wonder if it could happen to you. Or worse, someone you love. Stay until the end, because the twist, you won't see it coming. Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe if you enjoy what I do here, and drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating, to see who's listening around the world. My name's Daniel, 41 years old, divorced, single father to a 12-year-old girl, Emily. She's the only reason I still breathe. Life for me wasn't glamorous. I worked as an IT technician in a mid-sized American city, fluorescent lights, cubicles, greasy takeout at my desk. Every day felt like a loop. Clock in, fix people's messes, clock out. But when I picked Emily up from school and she'd talk my ear off about her art projects or the latest book she was reading, the gray faded a little. Weekends were sacred. Board games, pancakes, maybe a movie. I'd sworn that after her mother left, after the screaming matches, the betrayal, the custody battle, Emily would never see me broken again. She'd see a dad who was steady, a dad she could trust. But life, as I'd learn, doesn't care about the promises you make. It started small. A weird look across the dinner table. Emily whispering on her phone a little too late at night. Strange excuses from her after school. When I asked, she'd shrug. Just homework, Dad. Just friends. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But then, one night during dinner, my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. 3 words. Get up and leave. Another message followed before I could react. Don't say anything to your daughter. I froze. My fork hovered above the plate. Emily noticed my face tighten. Dad? You okay? Something inside me twisted. My hands shook, but I forced a smile. Yeah, just work stuff. But my mind... Oh, it was already burning. Who the hell was texting me? And why did they know my daughter was sitting right in front of me? That was the first drop of gasoline on what would soon become a wildfire. The texts didn't stop. Over the next few days, every time I was with Emily, the same number would buzz, always watching, always demanding I play along. Don't drive her straight home today. Ask her who she's really texting. She's lying to you. At first I thought it was some prank, maybe a scam, but then details got too specific. One night I got, she hid something under her mattress. Check when she's asleep. My blood ran cold. I waited until she was out like a rock. Heart pounding, I lifted her mattress, and there it was. A small black phone. One I hadn't given her. One I didn't even know existed. I unlocked it. No passcode. And what I saw shattered me. Messages. Dozens. To someone labeled Uncle J. But the words weren't casual. They weren't normal. They were manipulative. Disgusting. Him telling her things like, don't tell your dad, he wouldn't understand. Or, you're so much more mature than your friends. My hands shook so violently, the phone nearly slipped. Uncle J. Jason, my ex-wife's new husband. The same man who'd called me a loser who couldn't keep his family together. The same smug bastard who always looked at me like I was dirt under his shoe. I stared at the screen, bile rising in my throat. He was grooming my daughter, twisting her mind, using her. The rage that ripped through me was unlike anything I'd felt before. It wasn't fire, it was ice. The next text came in, like the sender knew exactly what I'd discovered. Now you know the truth. What are you going to do? I wanted to storm over to Jason's house that second, kick his door down, beat him until he couldn't breathe. But one glance at Emily sleeping peacefully stopped me. If I lost control, if I made the wrong move, she'd be dragged through courts, investigations. Worse, number. This had to be handled differently. The texts kept guiding me, almost taunting. Don't confront him yet. Watch him, see how deep it goes. Play dumb, or she'll protect him. And damn it, they were right. Because when I tested Emily casually asking about Jason, her face lit up. She called him cool, said he bought her things I never could. I bit down so hard on the inside of my cheek, I tasted blood. Every smile she gave me now felt poisoned. Every excuse she made cut deeper. Not because she was guilty, but because she was being twisted against me. The humiliation came next. One evening during a school event, Jason cornered me near the bleachers, his voice low, mocking. "You know she prefers being with us, right? You're just old news. Worthless, worthless." That word clung to me like tar. I clenched my fists, but I didn't swing, not yet. Because by then, a plan was already forming in my head. And I knew. I wasn't just going to stop him. I was going to destroy him. After that night, after finding the black phone and seeing the name Uncle Jay, something in me split. The part that had been patient and cautious folded up like paper and went quiet. In its place, a part that measured things in moves and counters took over. If I was going to protect Emily, it wouldn't be by yelling or by brute force. It would be by becoming someone who could think 10 turns ahead. Somebody meticulous, precise, dangerous if needed. I started small, the way you learn a habit before you commit to it. I logged into Jason's social accounts. Nothing illegal, just the breadcrumbs people leave online. Pictures, check-ins, the stupid little arrogance of a man who thinks the world owes him. I read every comment, scanned through friends who liked his posts. I trawled public records. I watched his routines. When he jogged, where he parked, the coffee spot he used every morning. I learned his patterns like they were the bars of a song. The anonymous texts kept coming. That fact alone should have made me pause. Who the hell was helping me like this? The messages were too specific to be random, too cruel to be benevolent. They told me what to watch for, where to look, when to act. Tonight at 9, he'll take her to the market. Stay 2 blocks away. 1 read. Don't let him see you. I did as instructed. I sat in my truck, the heater humming, and watched him take Emily by the hand, laughing. It looked normal, a man and a girl buying gum and ice cream. But by that time, normal meant nothing. Normal had become suspect. I built a dossier, photos snapped from my phone, timestamps, voice memos of conversations overheard at the playground. I learned how to read a lie. Precise pauses, the throat clearing before a reinforcement. I started subtle tests on Emily, tiny interrogations disguised as fatherly curiosity. Who did you sit with at lunch? What did Jason say about the assignment? She lied easily when she needed to. Kids are good actors when they've been coached, and still the texts came, nudging me down a ladder I couldn't see the bottom of. He likes to be alone with her after hours. He asks her to keep secrets. You need proof to make it stick. Whoever wrote them never identified themselves. They never gave me a name. They just fed me instructions like a surgeon's assistant, calm and clinical. My plan formed around 2 things, evidence and timing. Evidence that could be presented to the police, to the school, to anyone who would listen, and timing that would strike when his guard was lowest. I couldn't just scream into the wind. I had to dismantle him with facts. So I faked normalcy, and I collected like a scavenger. I bought a cheap voice recorder disguised as a key fob. I slipped into parking lots and left it in his car when he wasn't looking. I learned where he kept his spare keys. I conspired with a barista who hated him for a cheap joke he'd made. She agreed to record him if he spoke carelessly. People who are small and bitter make good little allies. There were close calls, God. There were close calls. Once his neighbor almost saw me leaning over the mailbox, taking a photo of a receipt, stamped with a time. Another time, Emily came up the walk early and nearly caught me tailing their car from across the street. I had to slide behind a hedgerow with my heart in my throat and pretend I was taking a walk. I learned to control the trembling in my fingers. I learned to smile at school functions while my mind rewired itself around vengeance. Every night I spread the pieces across my kitchen table like cards on a poker table. Screenshots, printouts, little flags where a line of text mattered. He said, "Don't tell your dad," circled. She texted, "I know how to keep him quiet," highlighted. I recorded my own voice, reading things out loud, as if hearing them would make them real. And the worst thing? I was good at it. I saw the map of his life and how to press it. I could make a man's public story crumble with a few well-placed pushes. The thought of that gave me a cold, private thrill. I stopped sleeping properly. My world narrowed to the contours of his routines and the next move. There was a moment, a single one, when I nearly stopped. I'd found something in a message thread that didn't sit right. A typo, a time mismatch. It suggested whoever was sending me tips had inside knowledge that only someone close to Emily would have. I thought of her mother. I thought of Rebecca and her quiet eyes. But then another message arrived. "It's almost time. He'll be alone tonight. Don't fail her." And the anger, raw and ugly, pushed logic aside. If my plan failed. I told myself that night, whispering into the dark as if it could hear, I'd lose everything. That sentence balanced on the edge of a blade, and I had decided to walk the blade. If you're still here, you're my kind of person. Hit like, and let's go deeper into the plan. I didn't want to get my hands dirty in a way people would see. I wanted systems to do the dirty work to make it look inevitable. So I built a narrative, then fed it to the right places. First, the school. I compiled a packet, screenshots of suspicious texts, voice memos with ambiguous but unsettling phrases, photos of Jason with Emily at odd hours. I left it anonymously in the principal's inbox with a note prompting an investigation. The school took it seriously, because what school in America doesn't panic when it sees the words "inappropriate conduct" tied to a minor? Second, the workplace. I found a forum where Jason wrote under a throwaway username. I collected threads where he made boastful, misogynistic remarks, and bundled them with family photos and tagged co-workers. One email to his supervisor, a curated collage, and suddenly his project leaders were emailing HR. Reputation crumbled faster than a house of cards. Third, the law. This was the hardest step. I didn't want him to go to prison, necessarily. I wanted him exposed, removed from my daughter's life, humiliated and incapable of contact. I leaked edited audio to a private investigator who had a soft spot for cases like mine. He played the tapes with just enough of a slant that they sounded like a pattern of grooming when stacked together. Everything worked. They suspended him from his job, pending an inquiry. The school barred him from after-school events. A few townspeople began to whisper. The man who'd once stood over me and called me worthless now shuffled through grocery aisles with the weight of suspicion on his shoulders. And then the anonymous texts went quiet. For a breathless week, I basked in the quiet. I'd done it. I'd broken him. I thought about Emily laughing at some silly movie, her hair tumbling, her trust intact. The images soothed me. They also blinded me. The twist landed like a single splinter, and then the whole planking of my life fell away. One gray Monday, a detective showed up at my door. Not the kind who had questions arranged to catch you in a lie. The kind with a flat, tired face that's seen too many ugly ends. He asked for a conversation voluntary, and then with a tone that suggested he already knew what he would find, he told me the black phone under Emily's mattress had been logged into the school server. The messages on it had been sent from a device registered under my name through a home Wi-Fi MAC address on 3 separate occasions. My stomach dropped. I remembered long nights connected to the router, researching, planting, logging into fake accounts. My laptop sat where it had always sat on the kitchen table with faint coffee stains. He wanted to know about my internet usage the night the messages originated. I told him I'd been at work. I told him whatever someone who had been doing wrong tells the police. The truth with gaps, explanations with smudges. Then he slid a printout across the table, a screenshot of a message thread from Emily's hidden phone. A line stuck out, the one that had pushed me into motion in the first place. Tell him what to do next. Make him angry enough to act. It was signed with nothing but a small heart. The detective looked at me and said the thing no father wants but somehow still hears. We interviewed Emily. She says she felt invisible. She says she wanted him to fight for her. I remember laughing a short, awful noise because the whole geometry of the world had rotated. She wanted him to fight for her? I repeated. She wanted me to do what? Then the email arrived. A printout from a cell provider showed a series of anonymous mess transmissions, originating not from a spy or a stranger, but from Emily's own dorm, no, from her own device, routed through an app. The anonymous number that had been whispering in my ear for weeks was, in some chilling way, a child's voice guiding me into becoming a weapon. My mind tried to stitch explanations. She was afraid of Jason. She wanted him gone. She thought the only way was to make her father do it. She was 12. 12-year-olds are cunning and dangerous when they learn an advantage. She'd been sending messages from the other phone she'd hidden, directing me like a puppet master. She'd told me where to look. She'd told me what to do to make it stick. The truth, the brutal core of it, unspooled. I had been the instrument of my own undoing. I had been used to destroy a life I'd assumed was attacking my daughter. I had been fed evidence and cues by the person I loved most. I went to Jason's house the next morning because I needed to see the ruin with my own eyes. He wasn't there. He'd been arrested on charges related to the school investigation. A neighbor told me he'd been taken away, shouting that he was innocent, that he'd been framed. He'd left behind a wife who looked at me with the horrible, raw accusation of someone who'd watched a man dismantled by invisible hands. That night, I found Emily in the attic, the place she used to hide when she wanted to draw in quiet. She looked at me like I'd broken something invisible and permanent inside her. "I wanted you to save me," she whispered. "I wanted you to hate him enough to do something. I didn't know it would make him go to jail. I wanted to scream. I wanted to deny it until every proof of my complicity evaporated. But the dossier on my table, the printouts, the logs, they were mute, implacable testimony. I had been a father. I had become an architect of ruin. If you think revenge cleanses anything, it doesn't. It hollows. They put Jason in a holding cell with a man's shattered life. My hands built that cage. My hands typed the messages like a surgeon operating with steady precision. Only afterward did I realize the blade had cut me, too. Justice was served. But not in the way I imagined. I used to think the worst thing someone could call me was worthless. Now I know what's worse. Being the kind of person who will destroy another human being to feel brave. My daughter wanted safety. I gave her spectacle. She wanted a protector. I became a judge and jury.